Hi, my beautiful friends, and welcome to Be Cliche. I am so excited to have you here for today because we are talking we're talking about something that has absolutely changed my life. Now, the episode today is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself and How to Create the Life That You Actually Want. And now this episode, I can't even express how life-changing this is. So I have spent years stepping out of my comfort zone. I've moved countries multiple times. I've traveled solo. I built a business in my events and a community in Adelaide. And I've learned how to do so much through shaping my thoughts and shaping my habits. And through all these massive changes, a new routine has been one of the biggest changes for me. And this came from the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. I cannot express how much my life has changed through this book. When I was even first introduced to Joe Dispenza, which was back at the beginning of this year, and I read his first book, I read most of his third book, Becoming Supernatural, and that in itself changed me, but it was a little bit more complex. So recently, in the last, I think it was about 3 months ago, I started reading his second book, which is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Now, this connected to me on a whole nother level. I was able to understand it in ways that relates to me more, whereas Becoming Supernatural is a little bit more complex. And since reading the book and putting it into action, I have noticed huge changes, and a lot of it has come from the inside. It's come from old patterns resurfacing to show me what I need to change. It's come from literally as I've started working on it, old habits or old people popping up, almost like you're working through this. Let's see how you handle this now that you're more aware of it. And basically what you're going to get out of this episode is we're going to dive into how to actually break these old habits. Using what Joe Dispenza teaches, we're going to learn how to rewire your mind so that you can start living the life of your dreams, the life that you really want. You're going to get practical tips, mindset shifts, and ways to apply this to your social life, to travel experiences, and just to day to day. There is so many different ways that you can apply the teachings from this book. And so in this episode, we are going to talk about how your thoughts shape your reality, the science behind breaking old habits, practical steps to rewire your mind, and how this connects to building communities and meaningful connections. And then we're going to talk about some quick ways to take action today. So ways that you can jump right in and start applying this to your life. But before we jump in, if you enjoy this, then please subscribe, please follow, do whatever platform you are on. Please come and join the journey, because it is a journey. Every episode I feel like is the next part of my life and telling my story, but also relating to people and giving them something to understand. Now, we'll just jump straight into the episode. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how your thoughts shape your reality. And I want you to think about even the wording of that. Your thoughts, what you're believing, is shaping, so your internal thoughts is shaping your external reality. And that is because reality reflects your habitual thoughts. So the things that you keep thinking, you are telling yourself on a day-to-day basis, and you are teaching yourself that this is your reality. So the more that you repeat it, the more that you let it be true, the more that it is true, and you will find proof to show that. So some examples of that is you might say, I attract unavailable people. And if you're constantly saying that, if you find yourself saying it to yourself all the time, if when you're having conversations with friends, you're like, oh, typical, another one, I attract unavailable people. And what happens, the next person you meet, they're unavailable, because you are putting that out and your mind is getting trained to identify those people and be attracted to those people. And you're also putting that energy out, that energy of unavailability, and that's making those people that are unavailable be more drawn to you too. Or another example, I'm never going to get this job. I'm never employed. No one ever picks me. Like, if you keep repeating that same habitual thought, that is going to be your reality. You're going to go for the jobs that you shouldn't go for. You're going to go for the jobs that you have, that there's something missing. You're going to miss the actual opportunities that are out there because you're looking for the ones that are not there for you. Or I forget how to speak when talking to new people. You are training your brain then to every time you come into contact with somebody new to then lose track of your thoughts and not know what to say and just get completely like lost in what you're saying. And what Joe Dispenza talks about is basically our habitual thoughts. They come from our past experiences. So the reason that we have such attachment to them is because we use our past experiences to teach us that it's the truth. And so then we keep repeating it because like, well, we know it's true. We've seen it. So why would I think anything different? But then we get stuck in the past. And in order to bring in the future and in order to bring in our goals and dreams and desires, we have to be in the uncertainty. We have to be in the unknown. We have to not know what's coming. Well, we have to not know how it's coming or when it's coming, when our desires are going to come to us. But if we're stuck in the past and we're repeating those thoughts in our head, then we're stuck in that old reality. So for the example of I attract unavailable people, when we're repeating that, instead of being in the uncertain of not knowing when the right person for you is going to come or how they're going to come and just being open to what happens, you instead are just looking for those unavailable. You're being attracted to those unavailable because you're trying to control the how and when. So once we can get unstuck to the past and we can start taking steps towards our future, that is when things really change. So even for me, I've been through this like a lot this year. There's been moments of me being stuck in the past, stuck in even like my time in London, or stuck in like old beliefs or patterns that I had, and basically living on autopilot because I didn't know I was doing it. And when you don't know you're doing it, like the first step is awareness. We always like talk about this. Once you are aware it's happening, that's when you can make change. And when you're on autopilot and you're repeating the same thoughts, you're repeating the same emotions, you are repeating the same reality because you are stuck in the past. And so for me, when I noticed through this book, I noticed where I was living in the past. And it was things that I've thought about before, but for some reason, it's just never stuck. These old emotional memories were keeping me held back, whether it be in dating, whether it be in friendship, whether it be in growth in my business. I was stuck with this old belief system that was basically an emotional addiction. And that is exactly what these negative emotions are. Because they are attached to our past, they're familiar to us. So we try and keep them around because they're what we know. So we look for it. We look for situations that are going to bring it. Even subconsciously, we aim for that emotion because they're what we know. We are addicted to those negative emotions. We are addicted to being the victim. It feels so much easier at the time to be the victim and to kind of be like, oh, poor me, like, what will I do? Than to actually face those emotions and work through them and sit in them and let them pass and move into the better emotions. So instead, we stick with the stress, we stick with the worry, we stick with these familiar feelings because we want to stick with them, because they're familiar. So whether it be jealousy, whether it be judgment, whether it be stress, we know what that feeling feels like. We can bring it up back into our body whenever we want to. For me, when I started doing the meditations that come with this book, it really highlighted to me one emotion in particular. And this is what the book does. It gets you to look at one particular emotion, at least to begin with. And for me, it was judgment. And I didn't realize how much judgment actually goes across multiple areas of my life. Whether it be judgment of other people, whether it be fear of judgment, people judging me, or whether it be what I ended up working out the two equate was actually me judging myself. Because I was so worried about the judgment from other people that sometimes judging other people would make me feel better about myself. But the judgment from other people, they weren't even necessarily, I wasn't even hearing this judgment. I was presuming the judgment was happening. So I was letting it control me. And when you find that emotion that seems to be controlling you, start applying it into the other aspects of your life and realize how much it shows up. So even for me, it came up for one area of my life, and then I started looking into it, and I realized it also came up into my dating. Like if I got scared, or if I wanted to like slow down, or if I felt too much pressure, then I would just start judging the other person, because then I would feel more, it was the emotion I knew. It was the emotion I'm familiar with. So if I judge the other person, then I feel more comfortable. I know the emotion, and I can like almost be like, it's okay. Like we can back off, we can calm down. Like we can go back to what we know instead of being uncertain. And that is essentially what he teaches, like Joe Dispenza teaches in this as well, is we need to get to the point of uncertainty, but none of us want to be there. And so you need to notice and locate what that emotion is that is controlling your life right now. And see how it's blocking your growth, and see where it comes from as well. I could track mine all the way back to year 7, to feeling judged by the people I was surrounding myself with, to trying to strive to be with people that were more popular and trying to fit in with them. And when I wasn't fitting in and I was feeling judgment from them, letting that define my self-worth. And when you can start locating where that comes from, is also when you can start making changes. So let's talk about how you can break old habits, break these old emotions. So our habits are our neural pathways. They are basically emotional loops that we go through. So we've kind of already discussed that. They are the repeating emotions that we're addicted to. And this addiction, it can really make you feel like it's who you are. And that's what happened with me when I was able to identify this judgment, and I was either able to tie it back to certain situations that made it worse or created it. I realized the reason I was stuck in those paths was because it was like an emotional attachment to it. It was an addiction to who I was. It was an addiction to who I was familiar with, what was comfortable to me. And the fact that being a victim and being poor me is so much easier than realizing that you're causing it, than realizing that the reason you're in this situation is actually your own fault. That's a hard realization to have. It is hard to do that, because there might be many reasons that people like really, really terrible, really different reasons that like you are in a situation, sure. But to still be tied to it is us allowing it. It's allowing us to be addicted to that emotion because it's all we know, because maybe being uncertain is scary, because being uncertain, what if it happens again? What if something worse happens? What if I'm hurt again? What if all these what ifs? The problem with being uncertain is you don't know that won't happen. So it's easier just to stick in what you know. It's easier to be the victim, because when you're the victim, people feel sorry for you. They don't push you. They go, okay, you do what you need to do. Versus when you go, I'm the one causing this. I'm the one that has created my reality. And then suddenly it's all on you to make a change. Basically, to change and what we need to do in order to create this life that we want, we have to become somebody new emotionally. So this is not just mental effort. This is creating who we are, creating a whole new version of ourselves emotionally. And for me, I even had to do that in my business this year. When I had a lot of fear around leadership, and it came up a lot as I was creating, and I felt myself kind of almost asking people permission to be a leader, and seeing, like, checking in and trying to get validation for making the choices that I made. And I know it came back to another time where I had to be in a leadership position. I wasn't really given the support I was needed, but I also wasn't myself able to embrace it as I wanted to. And it gave this belief to me then that I couldn't be a leader. So it caused restriction. It caused me to fall back into the past and try and get permission for what I'm doing, for what I'm creating from other people. And when I was able to shift that mindset from this pressure into presence, into being around, into stop seeking validation, into understanding that not what I do and what I create will not be for everyone, that is when I experienced the biggest change. I remember having this moment with a family member, and I remember him saying to me, I was telling him about my events, and he said to me, that sounds like my nightmare. And I felt my old patterns come up of like defensiveness, of judgment, of trying to judge him, of trying to or judging myself, of feeling the judgment towards me. And then I kind of thought about it and I was like, he's not my target audience at all. He's not the person I'm selling to. So that is totally okay if he wants to judge it, if he wants to judge me. It's almost telling me more than it wasn't telling me that my events wasn't good enough. And that's what I was believing, what my old patterns wanted me to believe. But it was instead realizing that he's not my target audience. And he's not the type of person that would want to connect with other people in the way that I encourage. So by him saying it sounds like his nightmare, it was actually a compliment. It was actually him saying that the target audience that I am aiming for and what I'm trying to create is succeeding, because it's not for the people. It's not attractive to the people it's not for, because it puts you out of your comfort zone, but it gives you structure and it allows you to meet new people. So it was like making that shift from like defensiveness of having to feel like, of having to have everybody believe in what I was doing, in having to never receive judgment from one person. And that takes time to retrain, and I'm still in the process of retraining it. And it's very easy to fall back into it, of hearing judgment and being like, I've got to change it all. It's not good. Someone doesn't like it. And instead shifting into, no, this is just not for them, but I'm creating something that is for other people. So it's about this constant training yourself to not fall back into that old pattern, to fall back into that defensive, to fall back in that judgment or whatever emotion you have. So let's talk about how you can actually rewire the mind. So as I've already mentioned, the very first step is awareness. You need to notice these thoughts happening. You need to notice these emotional patterns coming up. If you don't notice them, they just keep repeating themselves. So you need to catch it. You need to catch the old patterns. You need to notice that. And the thing is about this is everyone has different strategies around noticing. Some people find it best at writing it down as soon as you notice it, and then writing a different thought that you can change to. Some other ideas is just noting in your mind. Some other ideas is at the end of the day going through and seeing what came up. Maybe you could talk to someone who's around you a lot and see if they can help you catch the things. So there's different ways that you can become aware of it. You can journal, you can meditate, but just you want to catch those old patterns. And I think that's where it's most important first, to become aware of what emotion it is that you want to change. I would actually really recommend reading his book, but you don't necessarily need to do that. Just think of some journaling prompts that you want to. So think about what is it that overtakes my life? What's holding me back in life? Where do I wish I was further? And what comes up when I think about doing it right now? So just focus on what emotion is coming up and what comes up constantly. What negative emotion? I see judgment. I see it all the time. I see people judge people, and it's such a mirror. It is such a mirror. So if a great way of even finding it is see where you are judging other people and focus on why, because that can show you what emotion is coming up a lot. Because we tend to judge people, A, because we wish we were doing what they were doing, or B, their negative trait reminds us of us. So it's something that we do ourselves. And then we judge them because we're embarrassed by it, and by judging them, people aren't judging us. So focus on where it comes up. That's a really good way to find the awareness. So find that emotion. We want to find that emotion, and then we want to work on changing it. We want to catch it when it comes up, whether it be overthinking, whether it be trying to control a situation. You want to pause when that happens, and you want to choose differently. So when you notice that emotion rise and you notice you're going back in the pattern, this is an activity that Joe Dispenza suggests as well. It's out loud, if you can, or mentally if you're in a public place, saying change when you feel that emotion coming up and switching it to the new thought. Because what happens is as you do this, you're training your brain, you're training the neural pathways to have this new belief, to embrace this new, instead of embracing judgment, embracing openness, embracing being magnetic. And when you continuously do it, what happens eventually is your brain is going to automatically, subconsciously change it for you because you've taught it that's what happens. You've taught it that when you experience judgment, you normally go change and you change to openness. And it starts happening automatically. And then when it starts happening automatically is when things start manifesting, because you no longer have to control it. You're no longer controlling and manifesting your destiny and what you want. You are that person. You have become that person. It's the law of assumption. It's becoming that person, practicing becoming that person until you are that person. When you no longer have to actively do it and it starts happening automatically, you are living in the emotion of your future. And that's when things come to you. So you need to constantly catch it. You need to constantly change. And I saw this video the other day, which was really good. And it was like suggesting other ways that you can do it instead of just saying change. One suggestion was to just kind of like shake your body out, go blah, 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 and then change the emotion. So kind of like resetting your nervous system of going like, oh, this random emotion, let me like express it, and then done, new emotion. Another tip that she gave was step into another spot. So if you're standing here, you feel the judgment coming up, step a bit to the right and change, and have it that emotion belong to that position, that spot you were standing, and now you've changed into a different one. So you can also use visualization. So embody your future self emotionally now. So basically what Joe Dispenza teaches in this book as well is that in order to manifest, you need those new emotions. You need to have those new emotions. They are so important. You need to embrace them, but you also need to be able to see it. You need to be able to visualize it. When you have the sight and you have the emotions, it is coming to you. Like it is yours. So you need to start visualizing you in your future self's body. You need to have those emotional changes and visualize it. So let's say that you want to, what do we say? Let's say you want to manifest a significant other. Well, let's use the example of your old belief being that you only attract unavailable people. So let's say that you want to attract the person for you. Then you need to catch yourself every time you feel that old familiar belief of I only attract unavailable people. And maybe the belief around that is rejection. It's the emotion around that is like fear of rejection. It's like this fear. It's fear. It's like this fear that if you were to attract somebody that was actually right for you, they might reject you and then you would be devastated. So what you do instead is you attract people that you can't, the rejection's already happened. It's not because they're unavailable, and it's nothing to do with you. It's to do with the fact that they're unavailable. So basically, what you want to do is when you catch yourself getting back into that, when you catch yourself kind of avoiding situations that could work out and instead being attracted to people, like someone has a partner and it's like I'm attracted to that person. Catch yourself and say the change, move into a different spot, and visualize at the same time you in a happy relationship where you have the right person for you, that you've chosen that person, that you, instead of it being that they're choosing you, you've chosen them. Like you are open to them and they are open to you. Your magnetic energy is flowing and you feel so comfortable with them and you just feel so happy, instead of that feeling that normally comes when you attract the unavailable person, where it's protection. It's like, you can't hurt me too bad because you're already unavailable. So I have the control over this situation. I'm not uncertain what's going to happen. I'm not uncertain if you're going to reject me. So visualizing that new reality while feeling the emotion of being magnetized, while feeling the emotion of being open. And honestly, just by doing daily practices like this and catching it and repeating it, this is how it changes. So journaling, start journaling when you do feel it up. When you're in those moments where the change doesn't work as easily and you're going, change, but the emotion isn't changing, try journaling on it. Like, see if there's something more there. Or also EFT, emotional freedom technique. Honestly, what is his name? I'm going to remember. I follow this EFT person on YouTube, John, I feel like his name is EFT, search EFT John and she'll come up. He has so many different ones. They're like 8 minutes long, and you can put it on fast forward if you need to get through it quicker. And it's basically like just tapping like different areas of your body while repeating certain affirmations. But it's not all positive affirmations. It's also like alerting where it comes from. So it's like, this, I'm feeling this probably because of this, because it comes from something deeper down, and then it works through it. So EFT is a really great way for that, and journaling if you're really feeling trapped in that old emotion. The meditation, the meditation that comes with breaking the habit of being yourself is incredible, and it has been life-changing for me. If you are one of those people that just can't meditate, you can't meditate long, or you're just not connected to it, I would still recommend trying it. But if you really can't, then don't dismiss all of this because of it. Find your techniques that do work. Spend 5 minutes only if you only can have 5 minutes. There's another platform I can't think of. I'm so terrible. It leaves my mind. But there's another platform where it's like music. Like you can listen to music and affirmations through music, but you can just listen to it in your daily life. So it doesn't mean you have to pause. It just means that you're kind of embodying the emotions in different ways. So find what works for you. But I will tell you a little bit about the meditation that comes with breaking the habit. And basically the book, the first 10 chapters, is all about learning the science behind what the meditation does, but also like just how it works. But it doesn't mean, even if you don't choose to do the meditation, that you can't actually read the book, because it explains still how changing your emotions and changing your visualization is really beneficial. But what I really loved about this meditation in comparison to, say, like the Supernatural book, is it builds you into it. So I started earlier this year, after reading the Supernatural book, doing like a 20-minute meditation. So I was accustomed to doing 20-minute meditations. I remember thinking that was really long. And it is long. To begin with, it is long. Like I was going from 10 minutes every day where I wasn't connecting at all to properly connecting in a 20-minute one. And basically what the book does is, once you get to about chapter 10, each chapter is divided by 4 parts of the meditation. And what he recommends you doing is, say, the first part of the meditation, which is like the centering of your getting grounded, centering, like kind of getting in, like out of beta brainwave, which is where your analytical thinking is, getting out of that, and instead moving down to theta brainwaves, I think it is. I could be wrong. Theta brainwaves, where you're able to manifest, where you're not falling asleep, but you are like, it's like your body's asleep, but your mind's awake, essentially. And that's the first part of the meditation. That one goes for around 15 minutes. And he recommends doing that for a week to 2 weeks and getting used to that amount of time, getting used to the process. And then once you finish that, you listen to the second part of the chapter about the meditation part, which is chapter 11. So then you listen to chapter 11, and then you incorporate the next part of the meditation, which that part is about finding what emotion is controlling you. And that's maybe 20 minutes. And then you add in the third part once you've done that for 1 to 2 weeks. So this has taken me about 2 months to get to the full. And at that next part, you start to practice changing that emotion. So you find when it comes up and you change it. And then the final part of the meditation, which is about 20 minutes, is where you start embracing the new emotion. You start feeling the love, you start feeling open, you start feeling magnetic. The very first time I incorporated all 4 parts, at the end it's a bit of a longer meditation by this point. The very first time I did that, I cried because it hit me so hard. And I took about 2 weeks for each of them to incorporate them. So I started and it made it so much easier in having a longer meditation because I didn't just jump straight into it. I don't think I ever could have just jumped straight into it. I would have done it once and never wanted to do it again. But yeah, by the first time I did the full thing, I cried because I felt like I was there. I felt like I was experiencing it. And it was incredible. It was amazing. It was one of the best feelings that I had. And funnily enough, after that, the final part was the part I struggled most with incorporating in. And it's almost because we're so attached to these old emotions. That is what the second and third part focus on. That was easy. That was easy to bring those up. But then getting used to bringing up that new emotion and training our body to feel that new emotion, because that is basically what it is. It's training our body to be able to on the spot go, let's feel this new emotion. And then let it go. And now let's bring it back. That's what the fourth part does. That part is a bit harder. That's a bit harder to get used to. Now I've done it for about 2 weeks of the full thing, the full meditation. And I've noticed I don't struggle as much with the last part anymore. And he says that in that soon you'll start getting bored as you do the meditation. And that's because it's not so far from your it's not so far from your reality, because you're manifesting it, and it's all you're used to feeling the emotion. So when you start to get bored in the meditation, it's actually a sign that it's really normal for you. So it's not as hard. I would really recommend anyone to read the book and try out the meditations. But if not, take what you've learned from this and expand on it. But it really made a difference to me, being able to incorporate this. Since I've started doing it, it was crazy. When I first started doing it, before I'd even done the full meditation, when I had only done the first part, weird things started happening. People from my past that I hadn't heard from in over 6-7 months started reaching out, almost as a closure, almost as a way for me to go, okay, bye. Or what else happened? There was old patterns would come up, or old tests would come up that I'd have to work through. Weird synchronicities and weird manifestations was just suddenly coming as I started doing it. Things that I had been working towards for so long just started appearing. And that's what I mean. That wasn't even before. That was before I was even doing the full meditation. But it's because I was practicing. It was because I was trying. And the biggest thing that comes out of that meditation, the knowledge around that, is you have to remember that uncertainty is where it's at. You need to be uncertain. So it's detachment. So basically, you cannot choose the how and the when of how you get your manifestation. And the more that you try and guess or try and work it out, the way that it comes, basically, the way that your manifestation comes to you, it should be in an unexpected way. You should not be able to work out how it's going to come. So you need to detach from the how and the when. You see your vision, you see what you want, the how you get it and the when you get it is up to the universe. You have to let go of that. Every time you try and control that, you are pushing it further away. What you need to do is you need to feel your future. Again, this is the law of assumption. You need to feel as though it's already happening. And you need to visualize as if it's already happening. It's that whole act as if, the law of assumption, be your future. You've probably heard it 100 times before if you're not new to law of attraction and how it works, but you need to be your future. You need to feel it by practicing. If it helps you to do certain activities that make you feel great. Otherwise, you just need to catch those old thoughts and shift it into the new. And with this, you cannot get up the same person. So when you meditate, you have to get up a new person. You have to stand up and be that new person. Just remember, you need to expect the unexpected. That is where you manifest from. And I'm going to quickly talk about connecting mindset and community. So being able to shift this mindset also affects your social presence. So being able to let go of control and not try and force connection with people actually creates better connection. Because when we try and control, that's where we miss out. I was in a situation where I tried almost to control that it became performing. It became performative. And I felt like I was performing a certain role. I was trying to be a certain person, and I'm not that person. I was defending things. I was preparing not to get judgment. And then all that happened instead is I was not being authentically me, and I wasn't magnetizing anyone to me because I was being the opposite. Versus when I just let things happen as they need to be, and I be the person that I want to be, and I stand up for the things I want to stand up for. And if something's really bothering me, I communicate it. That is when you connect with people the deepest. I even noticed that in creating like Be Social, like when I was trying to control it and I was trying to make things happen and make things work and like force and TikTok to grow, and then I just let it go. I was like, if it happens, it'll happen. I'm just going to create the content that I am inspired to create and see what happens. And then I had a TikTok go viral, and I ended up getting so many new people at my next event. And these people have become regulars. And it's so crazy because there's so many regulars that came out of this event that come every week now. And to think that if I hadn't let go and that TikTok hadn't gone viral, they may not be here yet. They may not have been part of it. And that's insane. It's insane to think what's coming when you let go, when you release. Your growth, it requires releasing those familiar emotions. So those emotions of judgment, those emotions of fear of judgment, you need to release them, and you need to step into the unknown. You need to step into the uncertainty. You need to let go of that comfort zone, and you just need to release. So show up to communities as your future self. Show up to any social scenario as your future self. And little quick wins that you can do today. I want you to pick one thought or emotion that you can shift. Just one. Just find one. Find one emotion that comes up constantly and find an emotion to shift it to, or a thought or a belief. And if you're really struggling on this, use the prompts I said earlier and journal on it and see what comes up. Another thing you can do today, visualize your future self and feel it now. This takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Or there's even these things, this advice where play a song that's really like uplifting, or it's got a beat, and let it like build up. As it hits the beat, visualize for 1 minute or for the length of the song. Visualize your future. Sometimes we find it hard to stay in that future, but just give yourself 2 to 3 minutes to feel that future. And then after that, you can let it go. Take one small action that is aligned with your future self. Again, whether that's even just finding the thought of emotion, whether that is applying for a job, whether that is being the person that reaches out on a dating app, take that one small action. And remember that breaking old habits, it means that you're no longer staying small. You're no longer living in the past, and you're instead choosing your future. The future that is uncertain, but the future that manifests when it's uncertain. Now, that does bring us to the end of the episode, and I just want to remind you that choose your thoughts and emotion consciously, and you will become the new version of yourself. When you choose to change it and you choose to actively work on yourself, I am so excited for you, because your future is coming for you. Every time, even if you forget the next time, but you do it this time, and then you do it the time after that, every time you choose yourself, you are stepping forward. Now, I do have a little cliche to end on, as I like to end it. It is a little bit of advice as we close. But first, if you do want to check out my social page as well, feel free to check out at besocial.adl on Instagram, or my Be Cliche page is Dana DAYNA.becliche. I will put the details in the episode notes as well. But let's end on the cliche. The future is already happening. Step into it now.